What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back to VEGA Conflict. So, I missed a video yesterday, that's fine. The strike can still be done for the prize list, so let's kick today off, this afternoon or evening, whenever this video happens to go up, with the lists for both the SectorStrike and the Alien strike. So let's go right to the SectorStrike. It was a battleship strike, along with weapons, armor, and tech for battleships. Now, I'm not going to say to use stuff that I don't have, you already know, or stuff that I never used. I never used the bayonet missiles or the brimstone torpedo turrets, as you can see. But I have, however, never built any of these ships either, but I can recommend them just based off of how they are. First off, Hellfire Battleship. What's good, what's bad? Well, it's got 7 weapon slots, it goes up to 8 when it gets up to Mark 4, so it gets exceptional damage for its repair time, stuff like that. And the fitting I would recommend, try and keep the armor light, but keep the damage high. That's what I've been doing more or less with the Axis. I'm currently building a fleet that'll be about 10,000 damage per second with only, what was it, 15 hours and 20-something minutes repair time. But enough of that. Legion Battleship. Unless you intend on mark upgrading it, even then it won't be worth it. It is slower than a carrier. It is... I honestly can't think of any good things about it. It's got squadron slot, which is decent, but it doesn't have enough going for it to begin with. It has no special slots, no this, no that. It's overall a... When you look at the blueprint, I just say it's a disappointment, especially because it's from the same tier as the Hellfire Battleship. And you take a look at this battleship, it's not a joke. It's standard for battleships, has lightweight armor. Something actually I didn't even realize. The Legion is armored to the teeth, as well as shielded. Interesting. But again, it has no weapons boost or anything like that like a standard battleship because it has the squadron slot and it would increase this range way out of what kicks I would want it to be. So that's fine and all. Next up, I found this a bit interesting. You can pick the blueprint for the Vigilante battleship up for only 72,000 intel. Now, typically it's 270,000. It matches the ship they have to buy. So it would be easier for you to buy both of them now for the Vigilante than before. Now, what's good about the Vigilante? Well, it has essentially a Fury battleship, a tier 3 ship at tier 5. It has the equivalent firepower because the Fury, once mark upgrade, you only get what, 6 weapon slots? Is it 5 to begin with? No, it's 6 to begin with, it goes up to 7. So it has less firepower than a Fury battleship, and it's over 2 tiers above it. But it has armor and special slots, unlike the Legion. What could you see the Legion doing over either of the other 2 actual battleships? Well, they're too slow, so you'd either have to push them with another set of ships, so you'd effectively lose, for however many Legions you have in your fleet, you'd lose that number matched to push them around to keep them out of the way of the fight. So you could take cutters to push them, or you could take any number of other things. But the thing I have the problem with is the fact that it's slow, and there's no special slot at all, even if you mark upgrade it. Well, I think you don't get one if you mark upgrade it. But enough of that. Skirmisher armor, okay. Here's the thing. If you're going to pick up the Vigilante battleship, you're going to get the Skirmisher armor because it resists both by nature of energy and explosives. And just a single piece of armor on it would increase its repair time to only around an hour, so that's acceptable to me. But its firepower is underwhelming. You can also get the free ship. Now, if you go with the Hellfire battleship, I would recommend using stuff from their tier, but I wouldn't recommend equipping infernal weapons because the equip time of the infernal weapons compared to standard versions of them is a bit absurd in my opinion. So if you do use the default normal weapons, your fleet won't be as powerful as the infernal version, but you at least don't have to pay for large sums of... well, you won't have to wait large sums of time. You'll be able to keep it down to about 1/3 of what it would be. Next up, bayonet missile. Never used it, so I can't recommend it. If anyone else has used it, they can recommend it. They'll probably say so in the comments, so keep an eye down below. Next up, brimstone torpedo. Again, never used it in the base, so I don't know how efficient it is, but with a range like that and that, a cutter would be able to close through its firing arc in about 3 seconds. And depending on how long it takes for it to reload and fire, it may only be able to fire once, and all the cutter has to do is just simply step to the side. Or you have a frigate that just dodges everything. Next up, targeting computer 3. Targeting computer 1 and 2. Can't recommend them because I wouldn't recommend subdividing your individual guns on a battleship to shoot separate targets at all. And from that, I understand from what other people have done, that's exactly what the targeting computer does. Now, build tokens, can recommend them. If you get the Iron Star Company, which is the Vigilante, pick up their tokens. Now, if you get the Demon Corps, which is the higher tier one, which is tier 5.5, pick up the Demon Corps tokens. Okay, now for the one that I'm actually happy about that started today. Alien Strike. Not just any Alien Strike, the Cruiser Alien Strike, one I've been waiting for. Now, first off, try and unlock the Punisher, the Disintegrator Cannon level 1, and at least Helmet Armor level 1. That'll be your basic fitting for it, and I do not believe they have any specials to go with it. Nope, so you're going to have to use whatever you have to boost the range or suffer with the low range they have to start with. Now, if you start off fighting low-level targets, that shouldn't be that bad. Now, on to the next ship, which is the Guardian Cruiser in the recommendation list. This is one that I use for everything I do. I've got Mark II, Mark IIIs, and I'm working up to Mark IVs right now. And I recently started a destroyer build that I'm going to be showing off after it's done in however long it takes for me to advance. The Guardian Cruiser, Pulse Cannon 1, the Tungsten Armor 1, and again, same resistor because I find energy and projectile to be the most used, in most cases, over the standard damage types. Or over explosives because there aren't that many very dangerous explosives in the game. Now, with that said, I can't say the same thing about the Manifold Missile. It is a very dangerous weapon, but only if your enemy's sitting still. Most people are going to be moving. And Exophase level 1. Alright, now let's say you've gotten either fitting or you've gotten both. You can pick up that blank hull. 720,000 intel. For me, that'd be about 10 attacks on the 75s, or... no, that'd be about it. Actually, no, it'd be 12 attacks, because it's 60,000 payout. Now, for something else, we've got the tokens. Depending on which one you go with, if you don't pick up the blank hull, but you want to start a brand new hull for no reason, if you don't get the blank one, start picking up your Xeno Division tokens for the Punisher, because it falls into Xeno Division. Now, if you pick up the Guardians and you want to start producing them, sorry about that. Pick up the Axis ship build tokens, which I am actually going to be going for because I have a build that I could complete today if I do that, and I intend on doing that. Next up, let's go to something I wanted to talk about yesterday, but something came up. we're going to look at Tier 7's next faction. They're another group of aliens. They're called the Aryans, I believe. Yeah, I think I got that right. And they'll be wholly they'll be wholly unlike anything you've ever experienced in VEGA conflict. Ship design, I have to say, it is very reminiscent to another group that I've played from another game. The Protoss from StarCraft, very specifically. The default colors for most Protoss is a golden type color with blue because of energy. Most of their weapons, their shielding is blue. So that seems very reminiscent of Protoss, and that's a little bit sketchy in my eyes, because that ship type, that build, it kind of looks like a Corsair from the first game of the Protoss, and that is an anti-air ship only. And that looks a little bit like it, I'm not gonna lie. Although the design seems to be pretty cool. The bridge, this is their bridge, this is the storage silos, and this is one of the detonator modules. So basically a landmine. And I'll probably do a full separate video reading through talking about all of this later. And let's see what's new to VEGA. Chain/counter chain. And they won't be implementing a new damage type with the Aryans. And something I do know, we're going to be getting the same ships from what I understand as the Aryans, except for theirs will be different from ours under the fact that they'll be doing chain while ours will be doing counter. So we may be getting the exact same ships they have, model-wise and everything, but ours will be any number of other things. And something I don't understand yet, if we will be producing alien-class ships for a change instead of humans that were stealing alien ships and stuff like that. Then again, we did build a suppressor, and that was clearly the dead body of, well, the dead hull of an alien ship built into the suppressor, because you could see the spine and everything in it. But something that I'm curious as to how it'll work, how will mark upgrades work? Because from what I understand, there's going to be two factions, good and bad, of the Aryans. We'll be working with the good ones against the bad ones. But I'm just a little bit curious, how will mark upgrades work? Will we be able to research them like we normally do? Or are we going to have to earn the mark upgrades, the research for them, not even to actually be able to build the parts for them? Are we going to have to buy the blueprint for the mark upgrade from the Aryans that we'll be working with? Or is it something else that I missed? While I was on the forums and I was watching through a few different people talking, there was a few different things coming up. And this is a change I can support because this will allow us to more or less choose what we fight. Right here, the different fleet behavior. One of the issues our design team regularly runs into is that the AI fleets will cause enemy ships to simply chase players haphazardly, often being easily duped or drawn out. That even more easily dispatched. Alright, the solution to that, the team is implementing an in-aggro system. I can support that because that'll allow us to set up our ships as long as we don't enter their standard aggro range, and it'll allow us to get ready to fight them. If it goes across the board and it's active on all ships, and they only become active when you come within, let's say, 1.5 times of their standard attack range for each ship, or a set range of probably 7,000 to 8,000, 9,000, possibly 10,000. I'd say 10,000, so you have to be within a agility support carrier's field for them to become active. That would be something I could see being useful because it would allow players a little bit more time to get set up for the fight and then engage the targets they want. But that'd also be good for certain fights. Against the Blitz Reapers, because of how far they spawn out, as long as they don't auto-aggro, you could take one on at a time instead of taking them both on, so you could engage carefully, take one out, and set your ships back up to attack the next one, so you could essentially have plenty of time to set up in both fights. However, a concern did come up with it being like that and them not rushing us, or with barriers, and there's a few people who were concerned that we're not going to have the time during the attack to be able to finish the attack. And if there are any of the fleets and stuff that auto-reset, so if you don't complete the attack, it resets, it was a concern for the players. I can support that concern, because if it is, and these barriers, this aggro is changed, one, their ships won't come to attack us, which I see as a benefit, because we can get set up to attack. But with the barriers and stuff in place, we'll be forced to go through little thresholds and stuff that'll most likely be heavily guarded from the opposite sides. We'll have to take lots of damage while going through that tiny little space. And I don't know if the barriers will work as a wall or a shield, so I don't know if they'll block shots. You know, if you take a ship, you shoot, and then if it doesn't have pierce or penetrate or whatever it's called, yeah, pierce, it won't go through. So that is a little bit of a concern for me with the barriers, because are they going to act like a steel wall where nothing can go through, not even piercing attacks, or is it just going to be you have to fly around them, you can't go through them with the ships, but you can still shoot through them? There's a few things that I was a little bit curious about. And now comes the quality of life improvements. The very bottom one is what I want to talk about first. More daily missions. This is something that I'm curious as to how they will do, and I'm curious as to when they'll implement it. I hope they implement the more daily missions before anything else. I hope they can actually do it before they introduce next month's faction, the Aryans, to us in their debut event. Because I really am curious as to how that will work. And they're working on expanding the options and functionality of the daily mission system to provide more to do during the day. And I do tend to find myself completing most things that I want to do in the course of the day within an hour to an hour and a half time period, and then I'm literally out of the game for the rest of the day. As well as more level appropriate rewards. So the higher level we get, are we going to get more blood ambers? So let's say I'm level 65 compared to, let's say, 25. Let's say 25 gets the rewards that I earn now, or something like that. Would I earn effectively 2.5 to 3 times what he earns because of my level? So he earns 20, would I earn 60? Or would I earn 80 or 100 or something, depending on the mission type? There are a few questions I have about that, but time will tell, as it always does. But that's what I'm looking forward to. Base tech equivalents. This is another one that I was actually interested in talking about, but not as much as some of the other aspects of the game. First off, they haven't always been good about putting out base tech at the same time we're putting out new ship tech. But the design team is going to do their best next season to offer both at similar times. So you'll have the ship version most likely, and then the immediate after decimation or something like that, hopefully in the same month, you'll have the weapons, so the bases won't fall as far behind. That's what I think that means, and I believe that it would be interesting to see them keep up with it, so as new tech comes out, your bases won't fall as far behind. And I'm curious as to how the Aryans' base attack will work. And my next question is, are we going to see 2 carriers? Are we going to see a carrier from the Aryans, and then a carrier from the faction after them that's tier 7.5? And another thing that I am curious about, are we going to get a capital class ship at some point? Because with them bringing aliens right to us, and we're actually going to be earning effectively their ships, are we going to see a similar ship to the Ancient Harvester or a Harvester, except for it is a singular ship that takes up your flagship slot in your force? So, you know, you have this giant super ship, but ours will be dulled down to that of whatever the Aryans' version of it would be. Could it be a carrier? Could it be a battle cruiser? Could it be a dreadnought? They could do anything like that. They could add, for the next class of specialist ships, they could do something like that. They could add a dreadnought for the aliens, because now it is clearly we're going to be taking alien ships, from what it seems, from the secondary faction that's fighting with the main faction to help us. And they could do quite a bit with that. They, instead of doing another carrier, they could do a small squadron spawn mechanic off of the ship. So when it comes in a certain range of enemy ships, it just starts spawning tiny ones. Now, I can see plenty of problems with a Dreadnought type ship like that, but I could see plenty of benefits. One, it could have hardwired in components that you can't change, so it could have no special thrusters, so it can't move very quickly, so you're going to have to support it while it's en route to target, except for it could have an incredible amount of decent damage weapons you can alter. So you could have long-range guns that reach as far as the carriers do, and do the carrier levels of damage, except for you don't have to worry about the squadrons and drones being shot down. That would be an interesting thing for them to show us in this alien group, because now that we're stepping into them, I want to see them expand the classes of ships just a little bit more. We got specialists now, but they could do something a little bit more. They could give us dreadnoughts, which would be the equivalent of the Aryans, as I said, to the standard aliens, which I do not know their name, to the standard aliens harvester. And they could allow players to have this ship. Now, it shouldn't be as strong as a harvester, but it shouldn't be as weak as a standard ship. It should be able to be built up to that of what a cruiser could have health-wise, because it's a dreadnought, but have the firepower of, let's say, a battleship at the range of a carrier. Well, not exactly the damage of a battleship, because it should have only 3 weapon slots, and each weapon slot should be unique. And each weapon slot should only be able to equip one single weapon, so what you put in that slot is up to you. So it can't equip standard weapons and stuff like that. It has weapons specifically for it. Let me know what all of you think about that dreadnought idea, and let it be the first class. But let it be like a capital ship, so we can't have 6 of them in a fleet. So you just go out there, hey, look, it's a battleship fleet. You just utterly decimate them. You destroy the carrier, stuff like that. Make it so that it's like a carrier. It fills the role of a carrier instead. But instead of a support field, you get long-range firepower on a very slow-moving ship. Or you could do it so that we could boost its speed or something like that. Any number of things. I want to hear what you guys think about that idea of the Dreadnought for the Alien season, or for Tier 7.5 instead of a carrier for once. Let's see something a little bit different. A little bit of a breath of fresh air, as I like to say. Now, on to the next part. Blueprint pieces as prizes. A very simple but important tech upgrade that we're building is the ability to offer individual blueprint pieces as unlockable prizes in an event store. Alright. So, for those of us that miss weapons on certain systems... Alright, let me think of it like this. Let's say I was farming up any of the Xeno class weapons. Let's say I miss a single blueprint during the event, but I have the XP to buy this last blueprint piece in the event store. Is that how that's going to work? So we can actually buy the separate blueprints for stuff if we can't get it, but if we can get the intel in the store. If so, I could support that, because that seems a little bit more straight-minded and carefully thought of than a lot of other things. But that's going to be it, everybody. In the next video, I'll actually talk about the Dreadnought class ships that I was thinking of, because with the introduction of specialist ships, we could easily have Dreadnoughts in-game. They wouldn't be that hard to do. They would effectively just be our version of the Reapers. Well, our version of the Harvesters in this case, except for we'd only be allowed to put one in a fleet. And I'm going to stop calling the fleets, because I've actually played games where you have, honest to every possible aspect, a fleet. I'm going to call them individual battle divisions. Now, the reason for this is because, in total, I've played games where you could have hundreds of ships in a single battle group. That's a fleet. This is just small battle squads going out to do what you need. All 7 of them together would make up a fleet, because that would consist of 42 ships. So I could say that's a battle division, but the other stuff I don't think is. Okay. And that's about it for this video. I talked about each thing I wanted to talk about. I'm going to more or less farm up what I need in the Alien Strike to get my time tokens to complete a ship today. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working on the next video, which will most likely be talking more in depth about the ideas of Dreadnoughts, their statistics, damage, weapon types, things like that. Along with that, I'll also talk about a few features in-game that could be improved, that haven't been looked at, that could be, well, in generally improved, overall, redone. And something that I can suggest that everybody should be allowed to have access to, not just coiners, because I know coiners could easily pay $10 to get to the VIP level 1 and unlock the commerce module. But I think there should be at least 3 ways to get it. One, you can actually pay for it for the $3 through here. It shouldn't be limited to just paying $10 just to unlock something that you may never use. Well, that you'll take time to use. And I think that it should also be available for resources. So you can pay the $3 in coins, or you can pay a large sum of in-game resources. Let's say you have to save up to 500,000 of each type of resource. Not 500,000, 500 million to each type of resource for any number of reasons. And that way, you know that low levels won't just come out of the gate and start producing them. I think it would be a little bit more balanced. Could give everyone a little bit more footing in the game for the commerce module, or make another version of the commerce module that produces 1 coin a day. Can't be upgraded except for it's in your base by default. So every day you log in, along with getting the daily login reward, you'll also get something like that. You'll be able to log in and get a single coin a day every 24 hours from this little module. Or, as I said, allow the commerce module to be bought by everybody. And that type of thing I could see being beneficial to everybody. And something else that I saw, everyone was complaining they wanted Kixeye to increase, a few people actually, they want Kixeye to increase the level of the commerce module or increase the coins that it produces per level. They don't have to necessarily do either of those, because what I just recommended could easily solve that, because you'd be able to have multiple commerce modules if they limit it. So let's say they increase the limit and they allow you to get 3 of them. Let's say you have to pay 300 coins for one, you have to pay the resources for another, and you have to get VIP 1 for the third. So you could in turn have 3 of them through what I just recommended, which would allow you to in turn at the maximum level of them make 75 coins per day. And they would help level each other up a little bit faster, so for people who feel like they're not leveling up quickly enough, it would help to level you up much, much faster. It would turn the first few levels into short day cycles as it's chopped down. So let's say, and something else, they don't all need to be upgraded because each one has an individual progress bar. So each one still has to go through their cycle of you buying and spending the coins, well in this case spending what they produce. And it would allow free players to get into at least 2 commerce modules, whereas coiners would have the distinct advantage with 3. So if coiners would still hold their edge over the free players, but wouldn't be as big, and we'd be making 75 coins a day at the max level, which would take a very long time for a free player, even if they get the first commerce module, save up to 300 coins, which would take you 100 days at level 1 to get the second commerce module, and then it would take you, well, you wouldn't be able to get the third one unless you spend $10 in game. So that would be an interesting aspect, and again, I'll talk about that more in the next video when I talk about dreadnoughts, because that could be, those are 2 possible aspects to the game that could be improved just by simply, 1, you increase the limit of a certain thing, allow more people to have commerce modules, not just 1 commerce module, allow us to have 3 of them through 3 separate things, avenues to acquire them. The first one could lead to the second one, but then you'd need to spend some money for the third one. So, you know, it's balanced out so coiners still get their benefit. But let me know about any of the ideas that I've mentioned off today. What do you think of the strikes? What do you think of the current state of the game? And who else is interested in instead of getting a carrier for the Aryans faction, how about we see something kind of like a harvester for us? So it may be able to spawn squadrons and stuff like that when it comes in a certain range of a target. And they'll be they'll still be able to be shot down and stuff, but you won't be able to choose what squads it launches. So it could launch alien drones that have low health, medium damage, so they can't overpower anything. It would be curious to see, but I want to know what all of you think below. And I'm going to be jumping around a bit more in-game, and I'm going to change it. So instead of jumping once every week, when I can jump, I'm going to probably jump once every 2 weeks, so I can allow time to recruit players free players, low-level coiners, small-time coiners, stuff like that into the clan, as well as check out what's going on in each sector and stuff like that. Now, with that said, I'm going to be doing a lot more in-game as I go on a little bit further. And I'm actually interested in seeing just how well all of their ideas that they just suggested in the state of the game, how they go. They could go in any number of ways, but hopefully they get it right. And I do hope that they, at some point, see that the advantage of having multiple commerce modules, because each one can theoretically be paid for by the coiners. Because first off, you can buy resources. So the coiners would be able to, if they already have the storage, say, let's say they have to hold 500 million, like I said, of each resource, and it takes 500 million to get the first commerce module. That'd allow you to have 2 commerce modules if you spend $3 and open it back up here, and have it so you can get a third commerce module through the VIP ranks, because that would encourage more people to not only coin at least $10 to get that commerce module, but it would allow people to have a one for free players, so everyone can have a few coins. If they save up, they'd be able to have the maximum number of coins. They'd be able to get 50 per day at the max level, and stuff like that. Let me know what you think those ideas would do to the game. Would they be beneficial? Would they be interesting? Do you think you could get Kickside to do it? Do you think this? Do you think that? Let me know those types of things down below. If you think it could benefit the game, do you think it would damage the game? Things like that. Just think it over and let me know. And as always, everybody, I hope your paratime stay out there in the void. We all need it nowadays. I hope the videos I produce do help you. I hope that the recommendations lists are at least semi-efficient for you. If not, let me know if they're not efficient, and I'll start adding targets for what I'd recommend for tiers. So tier 3, you'd go after low-level reapers / hives or other targets. But things like that. But let me know, and if so, I'll do what I can to improve the quality of the videos. But that's going to be about it, everybody. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps. And as always, everybody, I'll see you later.